pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to call that 6:01 just to be official.
Okay, 6:01 p.m. I would say with the masks, probably speak up, and especially because it's recording. So, and the recording's over here. So try our best to use our loud voices, our outside voices. Sure.
All right, we will do roll call for attendance. Erica Josephowski is absent cause. Adam Blythe. Here. Luann Homa.
Here.
Jim Bonner. Here. Carrie Fox.
Here.
Sorry. Brian Snyder.
Here.
Scott Tadowski is here. Mayor Eric Carter.
Here.
Thank you very much. If you are not aware, the borough manager, Michael, is here. The solicitor, the chief of police, and the code enforcement officer have all been excused from the meeting, participating in person, to keep our numbers at a more manageable level. There were no exceptions to the open meeting law. Moving on to the minutes, can I have a motion to approve the September 8th, 2020 regular council meeting minutes?
So second. Bring your little flag.
You guys are a little eager to like talking in person instead of thing. I'm going to call Adam first. Carrie with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are 6-0 this evening. Open it up to our first of our two citizens comment sections. If you've not been to one of our meetings before or watched one online, we have two sections in our agenda for citizens comment. The first one is to comment on anything that is on the agenda. The second one, we will give you an opportunity. Also, there's a one at the very end, which enables you to comment on anything that is not on the agenda. So we have three citizens present right now. We'll just kind of go row by row. If you have any comments about anything that is on the agenda.
Not on the agenda, no.
Thank you.
There's an agenda back there if you want one.
I seen it online.
Oh, okay.
I read it online before I came.
Perfect.
Before I wrote what I was gonna say, I read it.
There is one communications listed. Michael, I will pass that over to you since the communication did come to you, but I do see we have it all in our packets.
Okay, I apologize. I'm just trying to pull up a different copy of the agenda, but it's not working. So we have just one communication for this month. The communication is a request from the Salvation Army to hold their second annual Red Kettle 5K race and 1 mile family fun run. They did this last year. It sounded like it was a pretty nice success. They're asking to do the same thing again this year. It would be on Saturday, November 14th, 2020, from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. We will put information on our website about how folks can register for the event, and or they could contact the Salvation Army in Brackenridge. So that is what the communication is for this month. It's a request to hold that race, and as they did it last year, they supply the volunteers that do a rolling blockade for the roads, so we don't have to use any borough staff or overtime, things like that. So it's all volunteers that assist with the effort, and they coordinate everything with the police. It worked pretty well last year, so we expect it would be much of the same this year. That is the only communication for this month.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Moving on to committee and department reports. Mr. Mayor, you're up first. President's report, again, I don't have a whole lot, but I would like to welcome everybody back to our first in-person meeting since what, February, I think? Craziness. But again, welcome back to everybody. Very briefly, I did want to thank the citizens and anyone else that did participate in the first Tarentum Night Market back in September. I believe the next one is coming up next week, I think, the 15th. I believe it's the 15th. So hopefully they get as good of a turnout as we got the first time. Looking through the agenda, there's not a whole lot on here tonight, but we will be talking about an update on the comp plan, talking about some telecommunication issues, maybe some update about a water about replacement project, and I know Mr. Blythe, your favorite subject, the budget will be here before we know it. So not that we're going to talk about it tonight, but I know that's coming up on the horizon. Other than that, that's all I have. Did we get anything from the solicitor, Michael?
No report for this month.
Again, he was excused. So was the police chief. And I know he does his report. He gives it to the mayor, and we put all of that online. Do you have anything from the police, Mr. Mayor? To the code officer report, again, Mr. Bruni was excused from being here in person. There is a link online to the September 2020 monthly report. Also listed on here, he talks about the asbestos testing to begin next week, October 12th, 2020, for the remainder of our demo projects for the remainder of this year. We did talk about that in our September meeting. So if he were here, he would be talking about that asbestos testing starting next week. And again, his report is posted online. So if anybody would like to read it, it is posted online along with the engineer report, the October 2020 engineer report. The link is listed there, and that is also available online for any of our citizens or council to look at. Michael, I will pass it back to you for your manager section if you're ready.
Sure. And just to briefly touch on the engineer's report, there is, it was provided to everybody. It's in your, I guess, packet, we'll call it. There is one item on the agenda for this evening. It would be the item number 2 on the engineer's report, the West 8th Avenue water line replacement project. There's a pay, actually the pay estimate has gone through. There was one item I think we have on here. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I apologize. It's for the COG approval of CDBG application. So that's item number 7. And I'm sorry, number 5. And that's, we'll get to that portion of your packet, but that's in the engineer's report if you have any questions. So we'll address that as we get to the COG section. I listed it there. As far as the manager's report, not much to offer. October 4th through 10th is Fire Prevention Week. I was notified by Eureka and the other departments. So there may be some other, some activities going on around town or in the schools for Fire Prevention Week. There will be a drive-through Halloween event hosted by the Recreation Board on October 17th, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. The information is posted on the Rec Board's page on our website. The Rec Board meeting will take place on October 27th, and then the 31st is Trick or Treat. So there was some confusion about the drive-through Halloween event, whether it was replacing or whether we were canceling Trick or Treat. We are not. So it will take place with the other municipalities, Brackenridge and Harrison, as it does every other year. Of course, Election Day is November 3rd, and that pushes our next council meeting to the Thursday, November 5th at 6 p.m. And then just a reminder that the following week we are closed for Veterans Day. A few reports posted on the website, and you can check those out. Just some legislative updates, nothing substantial. And so that's really it by way of a manager's report. We can move on to new business. I'll turn it back over to Council President.
Thank you, Michael. Under new business, the very first thing there is Do I have a motion to pay the borough bills for the month of September 2020?
Second.
Carrie on the first, Adam on the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously 6-0. The next one is a motion to approve the request of the Salvation Army to hold the second annual Red Kettle 5K race and 1 mile family fun run on Saturday, November 14th, 2020 from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. and further approving the use of necessary rolling road closures by event volunteers. And again, that was the letter that Michael just talked about. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved. Second.
Carrie on the first and Brian on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously 6-0. The next one is a motion to adopt resolution number 20-12. I will read it and then I will ask for if we have any discussion or whatnot before we vote. And if Michael, if you want to chime in on it. The resolution reads, resolution of the Borough of Tarentum, County of Allegheny, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, approving the acquisition and subsequent disposition of numerous parcels of vacant property known as block and lot number 1223-N-267 would be in accord with the comprehensive plan of Tarentum Borough. Before we ask for motion and vote, any questions about that, Michael? Is there anything that you wanted to offer?
Sure, I can just add in. I was going to print it out for everybody, but it's quite an extensive document. I don't know that it's necessary to print for everyone. The next two items, this one and the following one, are for two properties. They are at 243 and 245 West 8th Avenue. Those are two properties that were part of the demolition project. There is a neighbor at that area that would like to acquire these two adjacent parcels. They are adjacent to their property, so they qualify under the vacant property recovery program as a side yard project. This is kind of what we envisioned when we demoed 20 some properties as of carrying into this year. So this is exactly what we envisioned. We're clearing these lots and giving neighbors an opportunity to get a side yard, improve their property values, get properties back on the tax rolls. So that's essentially what's occurring here. Like I said, the neighbor adjacent to these parcels wants to acquire both. They were just torn down within the last month and a half or so. And this person got the ball rolling with the county through the vacant property program. And they would be, of all the neighbors in that area, probably the best situated to acquire both parcels, just the way that everything's configured. And just as a side note, these parcels are, it's a bit unusual, but they're L-shaped into one another. So it would be difficult actually if someone wanted to acquire only one of them. Whereas you may look at a situation where, one neighbor acquires one parcel, the other one on the other side acquires the other. But based on the nature of the L shape, it's a little bit unusual. It'll probably throw things off there. So this is a great situation for the borough and for these individuals. And so I'd ask the council, I would recommend that council approve the next two items, this one and the following resolution.
So I'm assuming the first one is probably 244 and the second one is for 245 or vice versa.
The first one, parcel N267, is for 245 West 8th. The next one, the next resolution is for N269. That's 243 West 8th. And again, I have all the information here in the packets from the county. Anthony did the code verification. No issues with any code or outstanding obligations, any outstanding code matters. So he approved everything. I talked it through with him as well, and everything aligns perfectly for these folks. So it's a good situation.
Awesome.
Are they behind or on the side or?
These individuals, they are situated on the corner of Western and 8th, but
Oh, okay.
they face 8th, even though it's a Western address, and these are next to it. They have their home on the corner, a garage, and then these two lots. So a detached garage. So again, it works out in a number of ways.
That's good.
So
Excellent. I read the details for resolution number 20-12. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Adam on the first, Carrie on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously 6-0. I have a motion to adopt resolution 20-13, resolution of the Borough of Tarentum, County of Allegheny, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, approving the acquisition and subsequent disposition of numerous parcels of vacant property known as block and lot number 1223-N-269 would be in accord with the comprehensive plan of Tarentum Borough.
So moved.
Second.
Adam on the first, Carrie on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously 6-0. The next motion on the agenda, again, I will read it, and if we need to discuss before we vote or have some input from Michael, we definitely will do so. Motion to authorize the solicitor to enter appearance as an intervener.
Intervener.
It's a word you don't say very often. In the matter of America First Enterprises LLP doing business as Oliver Outdoor versus Zoning Hearing Board of Borough of Tarentum at number SA-20-433. Michael, do you have any?
Sure. So this is,
information?
as we're familiar, this is the zoning matter related to the billboard litigation. So essentially, the appeal, as you can see by the caption there, is America First versus the Zoning Hearing Board. So technically, the borough and the solicitor, the borough through the solicitor, are not parties to the matter. So by entering his appearance as an intervener, that puts our solicitor in the mix with regard to getting correspondence and communications, filings, things like that. So you essentially become, I guess, for lack of a better way to describe it, a party to the action so that you can be informed of all the filings and things like that. Now, this is something that I guess typically a solicitor could do for a separate fee, but Dave is doing this as part of his salary within, with the borough. So even when we went down there for the other matters, he didn't even ask for reimbursement for parking or even something little like that. So Dave is doing this as part of his arrangement or commitment to the borough with his salary. So we're fortunate in that regard. So just figured I'd mention that.
So moved.
Second.
Carrie on the first, Adam on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0 unanimously. Motion to authorize the borough manager to contract for services with Cohen Law Group as special counsel to assist with various telecommunications service-related items, excuse me, including ordinance revisions, contract reviews, and associated legal matters. I know, Michael, you did send an email correspondence about this a while back, but is there any questions or discussion points we need to have before we take a vote on this?
This is what we discussed last month, right?
I don't believe we discussed it at a meeting. This was sent out by email.
Or the email
Mhm.
was last month.
Yes, and just simply, it's so that obviously the public is aware. Obviously we have our own electric grid here. We own all the poles in town. So we have contract agreements, pole attachment agreements with the various telecommunication companies. We want to review that, re-examine it, re-adopt a pole attachment agreement for the telecoms. In conjunction with that, we have the towers and the tower leases. There are a few items within those leases that we'd like to review as well. That's kind of a little bit of a separate and smaller matter. And then also ordinance revisions. One of the other items that is a hot button issue in municipalities is the 5G and the 5G installations, micro cell towers, things like that. So we want to make sure that we have the proper legislation in place so that if and when a telecom would come to install 5G or inquire about it, we have everything kind of laid out in advance, so we're ahead of the matter instead of getting behind it. So that's what we like to use Cohen Law Group for. Of course, they are pretty well known as specializing in this field, so it makes sense. And I think it's, a good thing for the borough to kind of stay ahead of some of these items, so.
So moved. Second. I didn't get the right new initials. Adam on the first.
Had to give you a change.
Jim on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0 unanimously. And finally, a motion to authorize the borough manager to proceed with the Tarentum Borough codification update via general code in an amount not to exceed $2,495 for ordinances number 19-01 to number 19-06.
And just to give a quick update on that item, obviously our ordinances are all codified through general code. It's available on the website. This is just getting those 2019 ordinances up to date on the code page. We did budget for this. Typically, when we budget for it, it doesn't always come through council for approval, but I wanted to also reflect it in the minutes as well, so that we kind of have a history and a record of when we're updating and when we're getting things codified. So there are only a few of those ordinances that actually need to be codified. They reviewed all of them. They gave a proposal. I think I may have even emailed that to council in the interim. I have it here. It's pretty straightforward. They don't know how much it will cost. They gave a price between $1,900 and the $2,495 you see there. It just depends on how much work it goes into converting those documents, I guess. So that's what this is. And again, it's something that we kind of plan to do each and every year so that we can keep our ordinance database updated. So it makes sense to continue that process.
So moved.
Second.
Carrie on the first, Luann on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously 6-0. All right. Nobody have anything else to
Nope,
add?
nothing further. Thank you.
Awesome. Moving on to Public Works, Ms. Homa.
Okay, I'm supposed to read all this.
You don't have to. I put it in there in case you want to.
I'll read it real quickly. This is the West 8th Avenue Waterline Project update. Property owners who are impacted by the project were notified that the contractor will be returning to connect residential water lines to the main line. Service may be briefly interrupted during the connection process. Following reconnection, the contractor plans to pave West 8th Avenue prior to winter. Hopefully.
That wasn't too painful, was it?
No, the pump was going to be more painful. but
I put it in there because it's one of those items, it's a hot button issue.
Okay.
Residents have been
Did we
calling.
Start already?
They did start, so they
I
posted and
finished
marked
checks
everything.
over that, so I thought-
Yeah, they posted and marked everything, but we get a lot of questions about it. Certainly, it's been a long time for this project. We had the virus shut down. The contractors had other projects in and around this area. So it's just something that a lot of people have been asking about. So I thought it'd be relevant to have an update. That's all.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Anything else?
Other than that, the street department monthly issue is online also.
Excellent.
That's it.
Mr.
Bonner for utilities.
Surprisingly, nothing this month. No, the water report is online, 28.6 million gallon, which is down a couple million gallon from last month. We're finally out of the drought, I hope, but nothing else.
That made my kid shut the hose off. Yes, that too. Ms. Fox, moving on to ABN COG.
Motion to authorize the AVN COG to award the 2020 CDBG Year 46 Water Valve Replacement Project to Ron Gillette, Inc. in the amount of $31,671.43.
I made the motion. Adam on the Second.
Just if I may interject, just to give a bit of background. So I have the full printout here. I think I just printed the cover page. I have the breakdown, and I think I emailed this to council. I'm not sure. But I have the breakdown of all of the pricing where these contractors came up with their numbers. There were 8, it was offered to 8 bidders. 7 bid on the project. Ron Gillette was the lowest bidder at the 31,000 number. The next closest bid was 32,250, so it was somewhat close there. It's pretty close. And then 34,000. I think I printed that sheet. You have that in front of you. So again, I have the breakdown. If anyone from council wants to see it, I can certainly email it out. This is just a valve project. The valves are located in and around the area of Corbett Street, Corbett and 3rd, 3rd and Corbett. So it's probably diagonal in the corner somewhere there. 4th and Lock, Corbett and East 9th, and then East 6th and Ormond. So our water distribution employee, identified areas that are either lacking in valves or could stand to use one because of breaks and things like that. So that's why those locations were selected for this project. So again, the more valves we have, the better we can control outages and water line breaks.
Excellent. Carrie read the motion. Adam was on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously 6-0. All right, you got your reading voice
I
on?
got my reading voice on.
Up to Ms. Homa to talk to us about the comp plan.
Okay, it's finally winding down to the end of the comp plan. We've got it up and running, not up and running, but down county. The multi-million municipal HBT comprehensive plan draft titled Forging Our Future is posted on the borough website. It is currently under the 45-day review period by Allegheny County and surrounding municipalities. Following review, the draft plan will be discussed by the Tarentum Planning Commission at a meeting on November 17th at 6 in the Borough Council chambers. Anyone who wishes to speak or comment on the plan should attend this meeting. All comments and feedback from the Planning Commission and public attendees shall be presented to the Borough Council at the public hearing on Tuesday, December 1st, 2020 at 5:30 in the Borough Council chambers. Following the public hearing, Council may vote to adopt the comprehensive plan at the 6 p.m. meeting and on the same evening. That's it. I hope you've all had a chance to look real quickly over the draft. And I'm not sure how your feelings are about it, but I think it looks pretty good.
I would agree with you. A lot of work.
When do we know if the other municipalities have a comparable schedule?
I believe Harrison put theirs in their meeting in.
They haven't confirmed, but it's comparable,
Yeah,
yes.
it's all
So they're
all by the end of the year.
yeah, Harrison has 2 planning commission meetings and 2 public commissioner meetings. So they are deciding on which ones and kind of how that will play out. And then Brackenridge is also confirming, but yeah, same timeline. It's expected to be a kind of a November, December process. Now, just to be clear to the public, I think I explained this to council in an email, but the planning commission meets on the 17th. They can present to council on December 1st their comments, recommendations, as well as whatever the public may have offered at that meeting. When council has their public hearing at 5:30 p.m., you'll hear from the planning commission, the consulting team, and their feedback, any members of the public that attend. So those individuals will be invited to offer feedback or commentary. At that point, council does not and is not obligated to adopt anything. It's likely that could or maybe would happen at that time. But if there are substantial changes that are to be made to the plan itself, then it would go back through kind of a rewind process and make the changes and go back into the review process again. But it's in some ways, obviously, after working for almost 2 years, it's unlikely that you're going to find somehow that's just completely omitted that may need to be revised. But that can happen. So it's not a guarantee that any of the municipalities will adopt at their public meetings, but it seems likely, and everybody in the steering committee is on board with the document and its contents. So But it's not absolute, so you don't have to feel obligated after the public hearing. If you hear anything that's concerning, alarming, whatever it may be, you can certainly take a step back and consider options.
All three councils vote on that?
Yes, so, and I believe from the language of the MPC, I could be wrong, but I think the language requires that all three municipalities must adopt it in order for it to actually be, to take effect, to become a joint, comprehensive plan. So I don't know that, it can be adopted separately and still be valid, but we can cross that bridge if it ever comes to that.
One other question,
Sure.
one of the public meetings that I went to was rather well attended. I don't know what to expect out of the one coming up on the 17th, but I don't know if there'd be any consideration to try to find perhaps a larger venue, because it was pretty crowded down when it was at the,
Well,
Salvation
we have the
Army.
one for the
Salvation
Tarentum
Army,
Planning
yeah.
Commission, it will be just the residents from Tarentum coming in.
So,
We discussed plans for something, so go for it.
yeah, it's a public meeting, so anybody is able to attend. Maybe the difference, if there is one, the meetings throughout the process, is kind of actively encouraging and inviting those folks to attend and participate in the process of developing the plan. This is more of a meeting to comment on the plan. Now, again, you may very well have quite a few people that want to comment or give feedback. We could certainly look at that. We did advertise. In fact, I think it's probably in the paper either today or tomorrow. We did advertise this meeting, but we could change the location if we felt the need to. Or again, if you had a volume of people coming in, you could always, reconvene another day and take feedback at that time as well. Several different options, but I guess, that's up to council if you want to consider, alternatives. I don't know, based on, the last comprehensive plan I did in a previous municipality, the planning commission meeting didn't have very much attendance. The other meetings did, for example, like the ones where we met at the Salvation Army and building the plan, but the actual planning commission review was lightly attended, and then the public hearing only had a handful of people, the same that came to the council meeting that same evening. So just some feedback, I guess. Take it for what it's worth.
All right. Mr. Blythe, Finance and Administration.
So Michael's linked some reports there, the budget report, check register for liquid fuels, the year-to-date revenue and expenditure report, also the real estate transfer tax report. Additionally, there is the 2020 pension state aid. We received $157,562.66. That's based upon non-police units times 2 and 14 non-uniform units, 32 total units at $4,923.83. There's also a motion there to authorize the Borough of Tarentum manager to publish the 2019 Tarentum Borough financial statement newspaper advertisement as prepared by the Borough Auditor pursuant to 1059-1 of the Borough Code.
Second.
Made the motion, Carrie is on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously 6-0. Anything else, Mr. Blunt?
That is it.
Ms. Fox, back to you for Parks Rec Library.
Recreation Board met September 29th. As Michael mentioned, we will have our Halloween drive-through, which will take place October 17th from 11 to 2 p.m. It was in the water bills. I'm sure everybody got their flyers. So pass the word around. All children are welcome. We did invite the business owners, which I think I mentioned at the last meeting also, to attend. So we do have a handful of business owners that are supposed to come down and pass out candy, which is pretty cool. Also, our 12th annual Scarecrow contest is, we passed the flyers out for those. So that will be, setup will be October 15th through October 29th. Scarecrows will be judged on the 29th, and the scarecrows must be hanging on the 29th to be judged. So if you know anyone that's crafty and wants to make a scarecrow and win a little extra money, let us know. You can pick up your applications at the borough, or it's online also. We're also doing a first responders meal giveaway for the fire halls and our Tarentum police. So we contacted them and asked them when they would like to have a meal from the recreation board, and we'll be delivering a meal to them also. Please attend our market day night. As Brian could attest to, and I heard Luann was out running around, but I didn't see her. I don't know.
I took the lower end, I'm just tunnel hit 6th Avenue.
But it was absolutely remarkable. You might want to, I don't know if the newspaper was out that night, but it was something to see. I haven't seen Tarentum like that in years.
Yeah,
The
it was really hopping.
were just
really
hopping with people. It was really something to see. So,
Music out on the streets, on the sidewalks.
yeah, my hat's off to Diana Roney and Dave Rankin. They did a fantastic job that night, pulling that off. I don't know who else was involved, but whoever else was involved, it was just fantastic. So the next one's October 15th. Just get out, get a bite to eat, or just walk through the streets of Tarentum. It was just fantastic. Also, we are trying to think outside the box. We cannot have our senior bingo like we always do. The spring one was canceled. We want to do something for our seniors in our town, but we can't, you know, of course, we can't have our senior bingo up at Dalton's Edge. So, been throwing around some ideas, and I'm thinking about trying to have a senior, I don't know, something maybe at the marina where maybe they can come in their cars and do some type of a giveaway down there, maybe some raffles, or maybe where they can pick instant bingos or something like that. This was just an idea that I'm throwing in my head just today. But my question to council is, what do I do if I want to use the marina?
Is that fish and boat?
No, I mean,
You just mean like drive through like we did for the pizza thing?
Yeah, I mean, it'd probably only be like a few hours.
Yeah.
Just, you know what I mean?
you could get council approval. I mean, there's not
Yeah,
not
we're not
much. It's a borough
blocking it.
event, so,
Yeah, we're not blocking it.
yeah.
All right,
People be able to
so,
get their- And there's not gonna be any boats in there at that time.
Right.
yeah,
So as long as you get,
because I probably would want to do this in November.
yeah.
All right, so I'll just keep until, you know,
Well, if you know when you
Up to
want to
date
do
on
it and make a
what's going
motion
on.
now, we could just approve it.
well,
now.
I'm not sure of a date or anything. So, but I'll just keep you up to date on all that.
That works.
So that's just an idea that we're throwing out there. So, my other questions, I sent that email around about the remembrance tree. Is everybody okay with putting it on the snack shack instead of putting it on the bandstand?
Yeah.
I think, like I said, when I went back, it'd be nice, because people want to get their picture taken with it, if they have something there, so be where they can do it, and it'll also be on the camera, and I think it'd be nice to. come up with
Well, we have to order it first, but, yeah, because it would be lower to the ground. And, you know, we could get some type of a, not a cheap plexiglass, but something, you know,
that, to put it on.
heavy duty with, what'd you call those things, Jim? You know, yeah, like posts that we could maybe even protect it, you know,
I think that would
from
be a good
damage.
idea.
So,
I like it because it is gonna be lower and you can get closer to it.
yeah,
Yeah.
people would be able just to walk up and see it.
Yeah.
Is that lit up right there? I got into that.
Well, we could light it.
Yeah, you can put up the light, yeah.
Yeah, there actually is a light there, but I think it faces the other way.
That won't be like a light.
So, and then we can move the bulletin board, on
To
the
the
front
front.
side.
Was that your awesome Photoshop work on that?
Now it's my husband.
Yeah.
No,
It looked good.
he's like my personal secretary.
Wow.
So,
Is that on the record?
yes, it is. So, okay, well, that's all I have. Yeah, but I appreciate your support for the tree. I know the recreation board appreciates your support for the tree. I think it'll be an awesome addition to our park.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Do you want an official vote on that tree, Michael?
That's what I was gonna take note of. I think, we should probably we can do it in November. That's fine.
No, I want it done tonight
Oh, you could do it tonight.
because
To make
I want to.
motion.
Sure, if you have the motion, yeah.
Motion.
All right. I'd like to make a motion that, to give permission for the recreation board to purchase a remembrance tree for the Trenton Park.
Second.
Carrie made the motion, Adam on the second.
Well, okay, go ahead.
Right.
I was gonna say, I think the idea behind the motion would be to,
Put them on the snack.
to clarify the location of the installation and things like that. You wanna, so, I mean, I think you all agreed upon that and it was discussed, but I think, it would be in.
As per the rendering that was shared with council.
Carrie made the motion, Adam's still good on the second.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously 6-0.
Yeah, I guess you're right, because the rec board can purchase anything they want, so it's more or less to put it on as a snack shop.
And Adam was the one that seconded that?
Sorry.
It's okay.
Apologize for that. And that's all I have for recreation.
Awesome. Mr. Snyder, special events and tourism in the world of.
No report at this time. However, I do have something I'd like to bring up for council's consideration. With this past year being completely, blown for any gatherings or functions of any kind, assuming that that this whole stuff with COVID gets better throughout the winter and the spring, I'd like council to consider allowing me to go ahead in the pre-planning of a Tarentum Beer and Food Festival, craft beer and food festival. Tentatively, I was looking at sometime in June, probably the 12th. It's a Saturday. By pre-planning, I would ask for permission to reach out to craft breweries and food trucks, look for a venue or preferably an outdoor location within the borough. And I could bring those findings back to council for discussion. And then we could decide if we want to move forward with it. But my reasoning for bringing it up now is it's June. That's what, 9, maybe 8, 9 months. And that's really not a lot of time to do something of this magnitude. So I wanted to get it out there now for your consideration.
Might not be able to give you even a definite.
I'm sorry?
Even your craft beer places might not even be able to give you a definite.
Yeah, like I said, and if just with pre-planning and just sending out feelers and things like that, if I get
a consensus that it's too soon for some people, then maybe we can revisit it and talk about later in the summer or even next fall. But it's something that I'd really like to move with. I think, I know a lot of people are gun shy when you say Tarentum and beer and festival in the same breath, but this would be, you know, there are ways to keep it contained. There are ways to keep it responsible. There are, you know, those are things that need explored, whether we have ticket sales, wristbands, you know, things like that that limit, or we, you know, make upfront arrangements with the breweries that they will only serve one customer once, you know. There's a punch card way that you can go where you get your card punched at each brewery and then you're done. So there are ways to keep it quite contained and manageable without people, you know, and this is not, you know, a truck with kegs of Budweiser on it for $1 either. This would be like, you know, we're talking like $12 glasses of beer. So
I mean, I've been to a few of them. And
right.
You don't have depending on how they do it, whether it's the card or the card's usually the best because like they'll straight up tell you now.
Yeah, and that's one good thing, you know, the crafters and the brewers that take part in these things, you know, they got a reputation to uphold too, and you know they're not going to overserve anybody, you know, they have their own liability to look at, so you know, and then you couple that with some good food trucks. We could even get some local vendors that want to take part in this. And I think it could be, you know, music. I think it could be a really good day. You know, the sky's definitely the limit. But right now, I just would like to move forward with at least getting feelers out there, maybe getting some phone calls made and seeing where we stand. So if council's okay with me moving forward with preliminaries, that's what I'd like to try to do.
We're not committing to nothing. I mean,
What's that?
we're not committing to anything. Like, so I mean, I think it's okay to go out and check it out.
All right. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that it was out in the open before I started, you know, doing things on my own. So, all right, very good.
Thank you. Ms. Josepowski is not here for redevelopment and revitalization or property health zoning. Finally, back to Mr. Blythe for public safety.
The Eureka monthly reports posted. Also, Eureka Chief Hauser and President Webb send their thanks and appreciation for the paving project in Plum Alley and Fire Station parking lot. And that's all I have right now.
Excellent, thank you.
Can I speak real quick? I saved this for health and zoning. So a couple weeks ago, I have a business on East 6th Avenue, and for the last 2 years that I've been there, I've seen like traffic that just has no consideration for the speed limit, which is posted 25 miles an hour. Now this is on 6th Avenue in what we all consider our business district, the corridor 6th and Corbin. Cars and even Pat buses come around the bend from Corbett, turning left onto 6th, and they fly. I see Pat buses doing, I swear to God, 50 miles an hour from stop sign to stop sign. I brought this up and I discussed it with Michael and Luann, and I just told them that I was concerned and what can we do. Yesterday was sort of like the straw that broke the camel's back because we have a daycare on 6th Avenue, and there was a dad and his child that crossed the street and were trying to get into their SUV that was parked on the Tarentum Station side. And a car came around the bend doing probably, I don't know, at least 50, maybe even 60. I'm not even exaggerating. and the dad and the kid almost got wiped out. Okay, so, to the point where, like, I jumped up. I was sitting on the stoop. I jumped up and I yelled at the car as he drove past, hoping that he would stop so that I could say something else. We got to do something. I don't know if we can put speed humps in. I don't know if we can put, yield to pedestrian signs in. I'd also even like to appeal to the mayor that maybe he asks the chief to have a car sit in the parking lot or somewhere on 6th Avenue and and ticket some of these people. You'll see. I mean, you park a police car there, somewhere, and within an hour, I'll bet you could write a half dozen tickets for excessive speeding. So it's been something that has been something that annoyed me up until yesterday. Became something that's like really going to get ugly because it's a when and not an if somebody gets creamed on that road. So I don't know what we can do. Any and all ideas are welcome, but something needs to be done on 6th Avenue. Whether it's more stop signs, there could be a stop sign at Dickey Street, instead of having 2 blocks without a stop sign. I don't know what we can do, but it definitely needs attention. It's a dangerous situation.
Anything like that's gotta get addressed with the police chief, correct?
Yeah.
Anything like that's gotta get addressed with the police chief.
Yeah, I guess the mayor can
Got
talk
it.
about that.
I agree with you that people fly up there,
Oh, absolutely.
because we got plowed up there.
Yeah, it's really bad. I don't know, Eric, Mr. Mayor, if you would have, if you and I could meet with the chief, or if you would take this on for me.
Chief, and see what we can figure out.
Okay.
Where's the worst part of it?
Okay, so it's,
Corbett lot.
yeah, and they don't, they're not like speeding up Corbett. 'Cause there's in that corridor, say from Blackburns up to the train tracks, I think there's 4 stop signs.
Yeah.
There's one at almost every,
Mhm.
but as soon as they cross the train tracks, they're pedal to the metal and they take that bend, that left, and they're flying. So that's the bad part. Same thing whenever they come through the light at A1 Rentals. They know that there's not another stop sign for 2 blocks and they gun it in that direction too.
It's busy. That's a busy.
Well, it is
section.
busy and
You're right, the daycare is right there.
and the daycare's right there. Everybody, there's a lot of people that shop at Diamond Antiques, but literally the elderly people that frequent Diamond Antiques, sometimes they can't get across the street,
Well, AC's, the
So, I
bank will
mean-
be gone, but a lot of people are walking across the street. It's very busy.
Yeah, it's just awful.
What's
So,
the worst time of the day for that?
the worst time of the day, I would say probably between noon till 3.
I mean, I think any time of the day, people.
Right.
I mean, any time of the day you're
I mean,
gonna have
probably
people,
more.
but the
Yeah.
amount of,
Noon to,
the
like,
amount
I
of
would say, like, noon to
vehicles.
4, like your, roughly your rush hour.
Yeah, 1 to 3, noon to
It's
3.
bad during the school times too, because now I take the boys up and down the hill. And, we all live here, so we know who has a stop sign and who doesn't. But you can tell you go across those train tracks, we don't have the stop sign, and the
Right.
other car does, and that people are going, and it's
Mhm.
like, you can tell real quick.
Yeah, it's,
Sometimes they just don't care.
Definitely work.
Well, that's
They're
what
just
you're
gonna
something wrong with
try
that.
to, they know what
thank
they're doing.
you, appreciate it, Mayor.
Yep.
I don't
I
want,
think
I
one
don't
of the
want
other
to be the
things that
person
Brian
that
and I
sees
talked
something.
about
No.
is maybe if they could put sign, and I don't know, put signs where the crosswalks are that states, Pennsylvania state law, you have to stop, how that is.
Well,
That-
yeah,
that cross-
that's a
You
terrific
can't really
idea.
put anything in the middle of the crosswalk
This is
because like
fine.
Michael said,
Yeah.
it's gonna
You
get
could-
crashed.
You're right.
But you can put a sign there that said, not that they're gonna stop, but maybe sometimes they don't see the crosswalk either.
I don't
I
even
mean, they
know,
should,
if
but they
maybe,
don't.
yield to pedestrian could
Right.
be maybe even painted within the crosswalk.
I don't know.
I don't know, but, I'm sure this council will come up with a great idea and it'll be taken care of.
More bump outs.
No, the bump outs, they're not working evidently because people are speeding down 6th Avenue.
Just saying.
And that's the other thing, like.
Maybe they need to bump out further.
But that's part of the problem. They want to race up and get around that bump
They
out
do.
before the other traffic comes out.
You
That's
can't-
exactly what
I
it
know,
is.
right? You can't get two cars at the same
So
time.
you're
with
coming
those
this
bump
way,
outs.
you see somebody else coming,
Yeah.
so they speed up to get through the bump out before they do.
Right.
Right? That's what I see.
Yep.
I see that all the time.
My,
Seventh Avenue,
I mean, for what it's worth, my suggestion would either be, yield to pedestrians,
Mhm.
painted on the street, a stop sign at Dickey, or a sign, Pennsylvania state law.
Yeah, because I just saw
but-
one the other day and it was just.
It would have to be really, really visible, and I don't know where we could put it on 6th Avenue that would,
Put it in the bump out,
put it in the bump out.
sorry.
Michael, do you have any idea what those automated speed detector devices cost?
I don't
seems like we
offhand.
have-
I've thought of that. I don't
Seems
know
like
offhand.
This is a recurring issue in a couple of different places, and having one of those that could be somewhere, even if it's just a couple of weeks, and then
Well, I
it gets
think-
moved to another
I
one.
think that
That's a good
PennDOT,
idea.
don't they give those to you for so long?
I don't know that. They might. But
I
we
know they
could
get my
also,
But I don't know. if
yeah,
that's just
but we can look at there are several different options and I talked to Brian briefly about it, but there are a lot of different options. So we'll look at the signage, lights, painting, different types of options that we have. We'll figure out
Well, did
what
you ever-
options we have
Did you ever
and
attend any of those PennDOT safety things, and they said that those, I can't think of the technical term, but the crosswalks that are painted with blocks.
Yep.
Instead of just the.
yeah, piano.
That's supposed to,
Oh, it's psychological. It
Yeah.
yes,
slows you
it
down.
is. It's
Yeah,
something that makes you say,
They
oh,
think
whoa,
you
there's a
see it.
crosswalk.
right.
And those tripods that say pedestrian I know you say about plowing them over.
They'll plow them over.
But they put those by Grandview for a couple years when Marge was up there.
Yeah,
Isn't that her name, Marge?
yeah.
And when they put those up there, that made a huge difference. And then all of a sudden they were gone. But that made a huge difference up there.
Well, they put them out on the median.
Yeah, but it
Yeah.
made a huge difference.
Yeah, but like on 6th Avenue, sometimes you're lucky you can get, because people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but just sometimes just those little things.
Exactly. And ideally, that's what I thought, the sign that goes in the
You do
middle
have
of the
that bump out
crosswalk.
that's right there.
Yeah.
There's not enough room for
Right, so
two
you-
cars in a
Sometimes just
sign there.
even those flashing lights on the stop sign, anything like that just makes people say, hey, what's going on? And they'll slow down.
Or we could all just stand there and scream slow down.
I'm
So,
sorry?
We could just stand there and yell slow down.
Well, that's what I did. Thank God nobody saw me. They would've thought I was mental.
the chief would probably know best, so.
6th and Dickey, the alley,
Thanks, Brian.
no problem.
Also, I just wanted to mention about the paving. I want to just give kudos to the borough workers. They've never used the cog equipment to pave. And I think that what they did in our town, in the borough, I think they just did a great job with our paving equipment. And I know that they've probably saved us a good bit of money for what they did. I know they did a really good job, so. I know Mark said they had a little bit of issue over here, but they learned from their mistakes. And I know they did a whole alley piece out where I live that's never even been paved before. And they really did a good job, so. So kudos to them for
Beautiful.
giving it a try, and I think it's worth our while.
They saved $15,400.
So, but they did a good job. So. I just wanted
Oh, no, I'm
to-
sorry, take that back. The cost was 15,000. So you could imagine what you would have spent. Sometimes that's one block, 2 blocks
Yeah,
for 15,000. So that was what they spent on the tonnage for the overlay.
I think they did a decent job. I mean, they never did it before by themselves, and to do that, I think they did a good job.
excellent.
That brings us to our second citizens comment section.
again, open to anything that is on the agenda or not on the agenda. If you do have a comment, please state your name and address and we can go from there.
Do you have anybody online waiting?
No, go ahead. You're good. Thank you.
I brought my oldest at home with me so that, one, she can work this for me, and two, that I tell her all the time that city council is the most important officials that we elect because they're the ones that affect our everyday lives. And y'all are more important to us than who the president is, no matter who's running.
Thank you.
She's giving you a thumbs up because she hears this lecture often.
Man, before you start, can I have your name? Just to, oh, sorry.
Good evening. My name is Pepsi Gamble. I'm a resident of Tarentum from Porter Street. You may remember me from last month when I spoke about the situation regarding electricity services. I would like to thank Councilwoman Carrie Fox for taking the time to talk with me personally. I appreciate that. Sadly, though, she was the only one who could be bothered. I'm only speaking again because I feel like I must not have been persuasive enough last month. There is nothing on the agenda to address this situation. Good news is that I am up to 50% of my income. Yay. But Tarentum is still demanding 100% payment. It is the state government that does not allow me to provide for my family. In the ruling of Butler County versus Wolf, Judge Stickman struck this down as unconstitutional in one of the best defenses of the Constitution since the Federalist Papers, in my opinion. Specifically, he said in his ruling, I quote, "The ability to support oneself is essential to free people in a free economy." He also said, quote, "In a free state, the ability to earn a living by pursuing one's calling and to support oneself and one's family is not an economic good, it is a human good. The state government has taken from me the right to provide for my family, and the local government intends to cut my basic services because of it. They are directly related. To think otherwise is ignorance. There is no reason as an entity providing basic life services, you don't have a safety net created for situations such as these. I will continue to be here every month till you provide such a safety net, lower your outrageous rates to comparable public service providers in our area, or the government allows me to operate at 100% capacity with no restrictions, whichever may come first. Secondly, still a little upset about the fact that we would take grant money that was granted based on the work of our boys in blue and spend it on yourselves to make this room better. Nothing about this room being better enriches a single citizen's life. When everyone is bashing police all over the country, why aren't we using the money to reward our good police officers? You don't hear about our police like you do in other towns. Everyone in this town has an Officer Lang story. My story was long before I was even a resident of Tarentum. That's a testament to the kind of community policeman he was. By all accounts, our new young officers fit into the same mold. You mean to tell me they don't need new equipment or bonuses they would otherwise never get? I don't know how we can justify spending CARES money on anything other than COVID-related items. And I don't know how we could possibly justify that enhancing a room is more beneficial than the direct needs of our community. And I don't care what list we're operating off of. If we're not, we look like fools if we don't ask for a better deal or other estimates. I know you all can do better. I voted for most of you because I had great faith that you would act and create policy for everyone in this community. Please prove me right. Have a great evening and I'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other, Michael, did you say there was any citizen comment? Any other citizens online?
There are not.
Before we make a motion to adjourn, is there any other comments or anything anybody else wants to say for the good of order? The good of the order before we make the motion to adjourn.
Yeah, I think Mrs. Gamble's comment was very well put, very eye-opening. I wish I had answers for all your questions right now. But I think we as a council need to take her very seriously. We need to discuss the things that she commented on, and we need to figure out how we can help not only her, but the rest of the residents of our borough.
I can't be the only person in this town in this situation. As a waitress, I'm not allowed to make more than what I make. I lost my wage, went from $7 an hour back to $2.83 an hour. And I went from a 6-table section to a 3-table section. That's all I'm legally allowed to do. If I cannot legally go to work and make the money that I make, how do you ever expect me to pay 100% bill? I'm not asking for a free ride. These are services that I've used and my family has used, and I want to pay for them. But we have to be realistic in such circumstances like this. You can't just say, I'm going to take and buy the electricity at 6.3% and at kilowatts. I'm going to sell it to my citizens at 12.1%. But yeah, I'm going to leave them hanging drying in the middle of a pandemic when they're not able to pay those bills. I get why we charge more. I get why we need those revenues to make this city great. There's a reason why I work hard at a crappy job to live on this side of the river. There's a bonus to living on this side of the river. I get why we do that. I'm not asking for it to go into any kind of permanent giveaway or anything. I'm asking you to make reasonable accommodations in a time until the government allows me to go back to work at full capacity. Some people aren't nearly affected like those that are on as essential workers every day. I'm not an essential worker as a waitress. A lot of people don't, their paychecks weren't affected because they stayed at home and worked. So their paychecks were still full. Making partial payments on my electricity for 4 months still left me with an outstanding balance in Trentham of $840-some when it was turned off. 2 weeks before I was supposed to start online schooling for my school, for my kids, I had no electricity.
I mean, it's a very reasonable argument, very reasonable. Can only speak for myself here, but I'm sure I'm not the only person in this room who's been behind on my bills before too. There's no answer that we could give you tonight, and maybe not even an answer that we could give you next month. But I do think that as a council, we should figure out what we're doing and how we're going to do it better.
And reasonably, that's all I'm asking for. I'm not asking you to fix my financial situations. That's not your role as government. I'm asking you to put forth a policy that would be beneficial to people like in my position, that I could make reasonable payments. Being behind on your bills already makes you feel like you're a second-class citizen. But when your services are shut off and you have no idea how you're going to get your straight-A students educated, there is serious worry and there's nothing you can do about it. There is nothing you can do about it. So when your hands are tied like that, I have no other option. All I ask is that you take it seriously to address it. I don't ask you to come up with a permanent fix. I just ask that maybe on next meeting's agenda, maybe there's something to discuss it.
And you also lost your second job because they're not open, correct?
Yes, I also worked at Killian's too, but she's just like Trentham Station. You can't afford to run a business at 50%, those little places. As a waitress that works for Denny's, I'm a benefit of working for a major corporation. But in that, I also have to take it when they take my $7 an hour away from me and give me $2.83 an hour again.
I would imagine that you probably don't make that much on tips, considering that nobody really is eating out.
there's not a lot of, there are people that eat out. And I have to say, I've been in the business a long time, that I have great regulars who take amazing care of me. I do good with the tables I'm allowed to take care of. The problem isn't the people that are coming in or the tips or anything. It's the amount of people I'm allowed to take care of. When your business is cut in half and your sales, just like the sales of a restaurant is cut in half, that means my tips are cut in half. A lot of people don't feel safe with restaurants and they feel more safe with takeout. A lot of people do not tip on takeout orders. They don't realize that a server who's making $2.83 an hour is putting that to go together for you, not somebody who's making a minimum wage. So a lot of people don't realize that it is customary to tip on to goes. So yeah, the money is when your income, I was the main breadwinner for my family. And when that money is taken away, it's devastating. Now, I'm a 45-year-old waitress because of choices I've made and poor choices at a young age, which I preach to my children every day. But this is why I work hard to make good choices now and to be a good citizen now so that my children don't. The circle of generational poverty ends with me. My children won't do that again. But I've been put in a situation by my government where I'm not allowed to do what I have to do. So I'm asking the city council to help me out during this time period. I'm not asking for a free ride. I'm just asking for a little air in my raft until we get through this storm together.
Thank you for coming to the meeting and sharing your personal story. Thank you. Anything else before we make a motion for adjournment? Can I have a motion for adjournment for 7:13 p.m.? Second. Meeting is adjourned at 7:13.
Mrs. Campbell, thank you again.
Yeah, thanks, Betsy. Okay.
Talking about that speeding issue.